This is a diabolical story about how a man basically blindsided his whole family. This woman named Tiffany gave a life update saying, "I know that we will be just fine because God don't play about me." And then she posted some screenshots of this story. Let's look at this story. Here's her post. She says, "Never in a million years did I think I'd be writing this. Some of you may have noticed that I changed my name to Tiffany Denise and removed a lot of photos. I didn't want to say anything at first, but now I feel like I have no choice but to speak my truth clearly and honestly before someone else tries to rewrite the story. A week ago, my husband, someone I truly believed was my best friend, blindsided me and the kids without warning or even a conversation. He chose to walk away from our family. Many of you know we had been planning to travel abroad, a dream we both shared. I found a program that would allow us to work remotely, enroll the kids in school, and live overseas as an expat in an expat community. He was all in. We were going to rotate countries every 3 months, and because of that, he pushed for us to sell or give away everything: our furniture, beds, couch, washer and dryer, dining tables, the boys' toys, their bounce house, the jungle gym, all of it. The plan was to stop in Ohio for a few months while his mom had surgery. We were staying with my mom before flying to Portugal. I drove the kids and our dog. He drove the car with all of our clothes, computers, and remaining essentials. We pulled in. He was supposed to be right behind me, but didn't show up for another 30 to 40 minutes. When he finally did, he parked at the end of the driveway, came up to me and said he wanted a divorce, that he felt we had grown apart, and that everything was about the kids. Let me be clear, there were no signs, no fights, no warnings, no conversation. And my response, I looked him in the eye and said, "I respect your decision," and I let him go. I didn't flip out, even though anyone would have, because boy, how dare you. He took everything we owned, placed it on the tree lawn, and drove off. I want to pause and say this. Parenting a child with special needs is not easy, but I show up every single day. I don't get the option to check out, but he did. Later that night, I went out to get the boys some basic essentials and discovered he had taken all of my credit cards and removed me from every account. No warning, no explanation. Never in my life would I do that to my worst enemy. So yes, I filed for temporary custody, child support, and spousal support because you don't get to walk out on your family and leave your wife and kids with nothing and no accountability. Now he's angry. He's been harassing me daily. He's spreading lies saying I don't feed the kids, which is laughable if you know me. Calling me aggressive and abusive, trying to twist the story before court because he knows he has no leg to stand on. I didn't want to share this. It's painful, it's personal, but I won't sit back in silence while lies are being told. I'm protecting my children and rebuilding our lives with grace, with truth, one step at a time. Thank you to everyone who's reached out, prayed, or simply checked in. It means more than you know. This part is extra diabolical, especially since they have 3 children. I was looking through her pictures. They have 3 children, and he had her. He knew the game plan. He knew what he was planning, and he had her sell everything. The beds, the couches, their toys, the washer and dryer. He had her do all of this work so that he could divorce her and not have very much work to do after the divorce. This is some diabolical movie level, at least Netflix level type of mess right here. And the fact that he gets mad that she has the nerve to file for child and spousal support. How dare you? You took her off the credit cards and debit cards. If you're going through a divorce, obviously all of that is going to have to be split up, and the kids are going to have to be taken care of. This, the nerve of some of these people. And this is why I will continue to say, have a plan B, C, D, E, F, G, L, M, N, O, P. And that's number 1, because you just don't know. Because like she said, she can't just opt out. She has to stay checked in, but they can go in and out without, they could do it. He dropped their belongings on the ground and drove away. I cannot understand the level of apathy you can have for your children to do something like that. I understand people get divorced and want to walk away from a marriage, but to do that to your children and not make sure that they're okay, I cannot understand that. That's some psychopath or sociopath, one of those paths. I don't know which one. Tommy Telly says, it was all cool till you filed that support. He's mad you're not reacting the way he thought you would. At this point, make sure you get the skin off his back when you go to court. Stampede Sweetheart said, I'd be taking his lashes one by one. And Issa Toby says, and the scalp off his head too. They coming for everything. To Infinity and Bree says, the way he allowed you to liquidate before pulling this makes me feel like he's been planning this for a minute. This is diabolical. I hope your lawyer cleans him out. And Fola says, that's my thought too. He knew they weren't going to move together. That was an easy way to get rid of things before starting a divorce. And then Sunny Day says, I said the same. He intentionally had her liquidate all the property, then drive her to her mother's with all their stuff. So when men come and try to talk to the single ladies or the women that just want to have a pet or whatnot and say, you're going to die single and alone. Your cats are going to eat you. How many cats you got? Ha, ha, ha. They don't talk anything about this. They don't talk about the people that can just willy-nilly be deadbeats. The women that did think that they were getting married to their life partner and about to do all of these things together only to be abandoned. They won't pick up these stories because I don't really think I saw too many men in the comments section of this woman's post. The Closet Ratchet says, that was very evil. He watched them pack up their life, knowing he had no intention of following through with their plans. This was calculated and deliverance. I can't believe I just read that somebody did this to their family, but men get to do this. They always get to do this, and it's just not fair. Bia says, my ex-husband did exactly this right after we moved overseas, and thank goodness I didn't have kids, just 2 cats who are happy and healthy. Otherwise, it would have been even worse. It's been 3 years, and I'm still dealing with from this sudden abandonment, including documentation and debt, but he's living a whole new life carefree and has me blocked everywhere. Okay, so Empress Jazzy went and found a picture of this man and said, the nerve of him, yuck. Let's just take this all in. This is the man who abandoned his wife. Just take it in. To Infinity and Bree says, I know you lying. Nicole says, no way this is him. Classic says, please don't tell me this is him. Adventures in Georgetown says, looking like a whole toe. So B, I had to go look a little bit closer because yes, this man does look like a toe. And she just looks like a pretty lady. Like, I would totally want to be this woman's friend. And he just abandoned this woman and their family. And she really thought that they were about to go gallivanting the globe and trying out new things and new foods. She cooks on her social media. She's a social media influencer with her kids and she's cooking and stuff. She seems like a really nice lady, but obviously it's social media. You don't really know what happens in people's day-to-day lives. So, but this is the story. This is diabolical, but this is the reason why you have got to be able to land when you are a mom and a wife. And the dude can just pull himself up and take himself out. Not saying that, people don't die or become disabled or something like that. But you have to figure out how you are going to adjust really quickly. Because if you have kids, regardless of how your relationship is going, those kids need to be fed. Those kids need to be poured into. Those kids need a place to land. So what are you going to do about it? You're going to pick up your big girl underwears and then you're going to figure some things out. And if you have the money, if you have a plan B, C, D, elemental P, all of the plans, then you can adjust a lot quicker than if you were solely dependent on his income and he did this to you. So join the conversation. Let me know what you think. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. I didn't come up with the term wife appliance, but as I have been doing these stories and talking to women, I heard it and I'm like, it just clicked. It matches many of the situations that we talk about. And so as we talk about things, wives are treated like the caretakers of the home, but they are also treated like an appliance that you can just get rid of when it's time to upgrade. Yesterday, I was trying to find some other articles or blogs that were talking about wife appliances, and I came across this woman's blog post. She titles it Abandoned Wives and Runaway Husbands, an interview with Vicky Stark. She says, after 21 years of marriage, one day, therapist Vicky Stark's husband walked out on her. Unbeknownst to her, he'd been having an affair for 6 years. She thought they were happily married. The experience changed her life and her therapy practice. Vicky Stark discovered, even after having been a family therapist for 2 decades by then, there was nothing in the resources that spoke to her experience of sudden abandonment. So she became that resource and wrote her book, Runaway Husbands, The Abandoned Wife's Guide to Recovery and Renewal. Here's her book cover right here, Runaway Husbands. This heading right here, your services are no longer needed. Yes, it's a gendered discussion about straight couples. Of course, women abandon too, and probably gay men for all I know. Being an a-hole is always a human problem. But in the case of Vicky's research and her therapy practice, this phenomenon of sudden dismissal from marriage happens to women in their 40s and 50s after their wife appliance services are no longer needed. There's been an affair or affairs that they had no idea about, and their replacement appliance is much younger. Using the term wife appliance is so necessary, but because it gets to the crux of us not being human, us being simply an appliance in the home, like a dishwasher that you have to replace when it gets too old or something. They don't see the humanity in the woman. That's the reason why they're able to discard that woman after the utility runs out or they want to upgrade it. And that's the difference, because like people want women to get married and put their all into somebody. And when I say things like, don't lose yourself, have a plan B, C, D, E, F, G, L, M, N, O, P, all of the plans, people like, oh my God, how dare you think that? I cannot believe that you are saying this. But if you are in your 40s and 50s and you haven't had a game plan, you've been mostly dependent on his income, and then he takes his income away because you're no longer needed. And then you're looking around like, what do you do? Especially if there's been a big gap in your career history, you haven't kept up with your credentials. What do you do? If you're in your 40s, you still might have young kids at home. If you're in your 50s, then you're starting to worry about retirement. Some women don't have a retirement plan because they haven't worked outside of the home and have no Social Security credits because they have not been working. Women have got to have a sense of survival and not clutch at their pearls when women want to just warn you like, hey, just in case. Hey, just in case. It's not that we're saying that every man is going to abandon their wife. It's not saying that. But what happens if it does happen? Are you prepared? Can you survive? Women have got to stop thinking that this is a fairy tale, because some people do not land on their feet, and some people might be holding a cane going into work because they don't have any choices and they don't have any money. The fact that this first wife, younger model cliche exists, it beggars belief that there were no resources addressing it. #misogyny. I guess you're supposed to realize that you're obsolete and exit stage left. You're just supposed to leave casually, but women need to fight back. They just don't leave casually. You need to fight back. It says the discard is a casual afterthought. The discard of the appliance is a casual afterthought. It won't come as a surprise to readers of this blog that the discard is brutally casual, out of the blue, apropos of nothing. Vicky relates how she was discussing dinner options when he blurted out, "I'm leaving." She thought he meant that he was rejecting fish for dinner, not her. Similarly, in the episode with Jenny Ball of the Happy Hausfreu fame, her husband told her he found an apartment. after which he decided they should watch Chicago together after dinner. Hey, you should have somehow intuited that the marriage was already over. Appliances don't need memos. So keep in mind that this is a blog post and she's just linking her other articles that address the things that she's talking about. She puts the hyperlinks in here for us. How many of you had D-Days during the holidays? D-Days, I'm guessing that's when he's blown up the relationship. A significant birthday, while about to sit for an important exam, during a period of career success, when your life is arcing upwards. That's the moment the narcissist, FW, chooses to abandon. It seems uncanny, and I guess FW is first wife, chooses to abandon. It seems uncanny, but Vicky has seen these stories play out time and time again, and we have at CN as well. No kibbles for you, chump. I think there is an element of sadism to it. Reminds me of colonial powers leaving Africa, pulling up the railroad lines. They intend to leave a shell and destabilize you after draining you dry so you can have no other god after them. This colonization metaphor is so appropriate because the way men do colonize women, the way they do go mining for resources, the way they will attach and suck a woman, her life force dry of her time, energy, and resources, leaving her a shell of herself. And you have seen these extra drained wives, and you see these men that are married living their best life. That's the reason why, and I put all of this together and I keep on posting these videos. You see that the men that are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s who have not been attached to a woman for a long time, they look a zip damn mess. They look a zip damn fool. They look terrible because they have not had a woman to attach to suck her life force. If y'all not seeing how all of this is connecting together, so this is the reason why we have got to be okay with pouring into ourselves and having boundaries and not allowing some other person to suck you dry. Because after they suck you dry, then they're going to detach themselves and connect with their next host to suck dry. And this is a reason why I want to continue to talk to the women that have children, daughters especially, so we can tell them about these parasites and how they will suck you dry and then just abandon you without regard because they didn't see you as a human being to begin with. They saw you as a utility or an appliance to be used until they were ready to discard you. I'm going to end it on that note, but we are going to continue to have these discussions because we have had generations upon generations of the programming about fairy tales and all of that. And I believe that makes for women to be not prepared. Like we're not prepared for the just in case. And we have got to deprogram that so that we can reprogram some self-preservation and some survival skills. Join the conversation, please. Share this with women. Share these types of stories with women and continue to share your own in the comment section. We need some levity. Y'all need it today. Melanated Reader asked the question, what's the lamest thing a man did that made you stop talking to him? I was sitting here reading these answers and cracking up. And I was like, y'all gonna get these. Y'all gonna get these stories and we're going to laugh together. You see, she has nearly 1,000 comments under this post. Thanks, Cherry Blossoms, for tagging me. Let's get into some of these stories. XO says, criticize my driving. He didn't own a car. Africa says, polygamy is in the Bible. What makes you think you're above the word of God? I left him at the movie theater and blocked him on everything while walking to the car. 2 weeks later, I met my husband. Viridian Dust says, he thought telling me how many women he slept with was a flex, unprovoked. And Melanated Reader was like, yeah, no. Bohemia Liz Shop says, he told me he didn't want a girlfriend, so I stopped dating him. He asked me out a few times more, and I reminded him he didn't want what I wanted, so we were done. He did call me 10 years later just mad because I walked away. I reminded him he didn't want a partner nor a life with anyone. He said I should have made him have a relationship. He hung up while I was laughing. I love that. He said I don't want what you want. And she's like, I bet. And then hung up. And he's like, why? Why didn't you try to make me? Like, someone said a couple of days ago that they want a rom-com. They want you standing outside the window with the boombox, with a flower, trying to get them to, be in a relationship. And women are not going for that. We're not living in a rom-com. Melanated Reader says, oh, he thought he was the prize. Made him is insanity. I really believe that this whole red pill, or the way men talk about themselves and the way they think that women are just desperate, it has really addled their brains, like scrambled it or something, Rubik's cubed it. They can't get it right because they really think that women are going to fight for them. We're not living in struggle love. We're not that whole ride or die. We're not in a rom-com. But Defying Brevity says, why won't you fight for me? Fight for us. Fight for love. Bohemia says that is so spot on. Although I feel I was super, super supportive of his decision to not have a girlfriend. She thought that she was doing him a favor. MMLB says, yeah, mom, you should have made him. And then Diana says, and then he would have just treated you like the whole relationship and constantly tell you that you forced him into it when he wasn't ready. Had it happened to me when I forced absolutely nothing, only because I asked how he felt about things between us. And a week later, he was the one who decided we should be in a relationship. My homie, Miss Mesa Keen says, oh my God, a different guy begged me to be in a relationship after we initially agreed to keep it casual. 6 months later, he claimed I forced him into a relationship. Naturally, I dumped him, which set him off as well because we were supposed to be in a good place, which really meant he hadn't prepared any kind of backup plan and was absolutely panicked. They want women desperate. And when women are not desperate and be like, okay, never mind, this is not a good fit, they really don't plan for that. They don't think that women have options. And that is the most hilarious part. Like Donna Quee says, imagine being this delusional. And then Miss Mesa King says, I had one of those. I cut him off because I didn't feel like he was emotionally invested in me whatsoever. A week later, we agreed to go shopping as friends. When I dropped him off, he bawled, begging for another chance. I refused. 3 months later, he admitted my age and having a child were deal breakers for him, things he knew before we ever went out on a date. He wanted me to act as a placeholder so he didn't have to be alone, but he also didn't want me dating anyone else. The audacity and entitlement. The way they will just use a woman as a placeholder is diabolical. That's the reason why you need to drop them. Once they say that they are not interested, say, okay. I know sometimes it might sting, it might hurt, but after you find out that you are not their type in any capacity, leave them alone so that they are not just using you. You should not get a sense of, oh, he chose me despite. Don't get those sentimental feelings. Because when they're ready to drop you, we have talked about this, they will leave your butt. 1111 says, we went on one date and he told me I should buy a new car because mine was too old. Yeah, blocked. Why on earth would I give myself another bill for a man who won't help me pay said bill? Mo says, when he asked if I had children, I said yes and told him my son was 10 at the time. I told him that my son was headed home on the bus and he said, when I'm his stepdaddy, he will be walking. Sir, huh? I had to get to this one. So Shay says, oh my God, I met a guy off Hinge 3 to 4 years ago. Vibes were fun, but slightly questionable. One night he called me to tell me good night, mind you. It was early AF. Maybe 10 minutes later, he butt dials me and I'm like, hello? He obviously can't hear me. I continued to listen and learned he had another phone. Tell me why he was calling another girl and was like, are you going to let me come and give you head? Y'all, she said no. He had been begging at that point. I couldn't believe I had a loser on my hands. Sabi Love says, when he got out the car, I saw his butt crack. He never heard from me again. And Melanated Reader says, LOL, I'm laughing my butt off, please. She says, laughing my butt off. I don't play about seeing ninja butt. I really don't. It ruins my day. And at the bottom, she says, not the plumber special. This would have me chuckling. Jaylee says, oh, no, I'm sorry. Jaleesa says, he sent me a playlist titled For You, and it had 2 Chainz on it. Just 2 Chainz. 2 Chainz is a rapper for people that don't listen to rap. I don't listen to 2 Chainz, but I would be dying on the inside if someone thought that that was what I needed. The whole For You. You thought of me and 2 Chainz at the same time. Book Nerd since 1975 says, he asked me why my little sister was so much darker than me. He had the nerve to say that in front of her. Yeah, no. Just Call Me Cam says, he invited me to this restaurant. He paid for the whole bill. Texted me the next day asking me to send him half of the bill that he paid. I didn't send him a dime, LOL, and I blocked him after that. Just so you know, y'all, I'm filling up this whole 10 minutes with all of these women's stories. Jill Jensen says, told me there were only 5 vegetables that he ate when I offered to make him dinner. Y'all, just remember, this is just an aside. Groceries are too damn high. Don't be inviting these people over to just eat you out of house and home. Don't do this anymore. We're not cooking. We're not going to the grocery store, spending these inflated costs for these people. We're just not doing this anymore. Not in 2025 with this economy looking the way it is. The Story Wanderer says, order for me at dinner without discussing it with me first. And then Logically Uncommon says, he told me, demanded that my dogs will have to get used to being outside because he's protecting me now. Mind you, he never been to my house. He just knew I had dogs due to the conversation. I made sure my pew-pew was close when I left that date. I had to get to this one because this one made me chuckle. You have to look at the screen. Maya says, he spelled everything with double letters. Look at this. What you doing? And it's just spelled wrong. This would irk the hell out of me. For the people that have been around for a while, y'all know that this one would irk me. Just like this face below. That's why you have to look at this. What you doing? Just misspelled. And then finally, I had to get to this story. Eva says, after dating for a few months, he says to me, I think it's time to tell you the truth. You know how I said I only have 1 kid? Well, actually, I have 9 by 7 different women. And she's just like, blink, blink. What? What? And then some of the reaction memes are hilarious. You have to look at the screen. Miss Sweet says 9 and 7 mamas. Simone uses this meme and it says, I beg your pardon. And then Yaz Ram says, I beg your finest pardon. Please look at the screen. Eva says, I started laughing at first. I thought it was a little jokey joke. Then he pulled out the pics talking about, don't they look like me? And then Loving Me says, this would have been me rolling because, sir, 9 kids and 7 baby moms is not a flex when I have 0. And then Suze says, and paying a lot of child support. She says, nope, deadbeat through and through, except for the 1 child who lived with him. The others live with their mothers in various locations. Some he didn't even have access to. This was by no means a wealthy man. Yes, he was taking care of that 1 child, but no way in hell his finances allowed him to adequately care for 9 children. Shaking my head. Join the conversation, y'all. Like, comment, and share.
I'm making salsa today. I'm dating a Latino. We've been together for almost 6 years. And I've spent my whole life making white people making white people food. And now I've had to learn how to make Mexican food. I'm making salsa today. Ugh, it's right here. It's delicious, but I'm sure Latino people are gonna make fun of me. But I just found out that when you're cooking jalapenos and serranos and chili de arbol, I'm sure I'm butchering it, the smoke, the spice, it's too much and it burns and I can't breathe. I think I just maced myself. I'm too white for this. We're going to have to break up. My DNA just votes ranch dressing.